Alright, what's up, y'all? As y'all know, I have to do my video on Georgia Tech and Georgia. Didn't get a chance to do it last night. Got super busy, man, with different things. But nonetheless, man, let's talk about it. So, this game right here, man, and say what you want. That's one score games against Georgia. Now, look, Georgia did what they were supposed to do, rightfully so, won the game. Defense played outstanding for Georgia. Didn't allow Georgia Tech to get really anything offensively. So credit their defense, man. They was flying around to the ball. C.J. Allen played when I didn't think he was going to play. He looked good. Raylan Wilson was flying to the ball. KJ Bolden led them in tackles with 9. They did what they were supposed to do. On the Georgia Tech perspective, bro, you've been close 2 years in a row. You know, last year you really should have won. You punched Georgia in the mouth last year. Couldn't quite close it, right? This year, you played a physical brand of football, right? Even I think Kirby Smart even admitted at the end of the game, like, this was a physical football game. And I think for Coach Key, like, you're not that far off. Like, you're right there. That's 2 years in a row they've won by, like I said, a one-score game. So what's the difference? The difference is you couldn't get the ground game going. Like, everybody knows when Georgia Tech is running that thing, can't nobody really beat them for real, right? And mind you, they've had the #1 offense in the country at one point in the season before they played Pittsburgh. Top 5 coming into this game, getting over like 460 yards of offense. This game obviously takes a hit. They only had 250. Obviously only 69 yards on the ground. It's just not going to cut it. And then I think they move away from it. King talked about in the pressure how they'll go up tempo essentially when they're kind of down in games and things like that. Coach Key talked about obviously executing, being able to strain blocks a little bit longer in the pressure as well for why the struggles of the running game. Because like I said, when they run the ball at an elite level or a high level, they can't be beat. And that starts with establishing the line of scrimmage. Now, obviously, there were some calls in this game that went against Georgia Tech. I thought that that 4-for-1 Georgia went for it on their own in their own territory. I didn't think he got that. That ball was behind that line of scrimmage, so I don't know why that was confirmed or upheld. Didn't make any sense to me. And then obviously, that call at the end of the game, it was like, oh, it was uncatchable. He literally tackled him, so he didn't even have a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the two calls I didn't like in the game. They got to do better with that. Nonetheless, though, if you're Georgia Tech, you got to control the controllables. And the controllables is your running game has to be better. Only 3 carries for Malachi Hosley and 7 for Jamal Haynes. Now, I know Haynes only had 1.6 yards per carry, but you got to do something to change it up. I thought, in my opinion, that Georgia Tech didn't get their playmakers involved early enough in the game. Like, they started going Isaiah Canyon late in the game. A guy like that, you give him the ball early enough and you let him cook. Malik Rutherford, let him cook. Jordan Allen, you let him cook. Get them boys the ball, whether it's screens, whether it's hitches, whether it's digs, whether it's comeback routes, whatever it is, you get them boys the ball. You know what I'm saying? And that allows you to, go forward. I thought the big one was they kept trying to go lateral against Georgia. You can't go laterally. Them boys is too quick. They know how to recruit. You know what I'm saying? They fly to the ball. You have to attack them vertically. That was the reason why Alabama won that game. You have to attack them down the field. Go look at the Tennessee tape. You go look at the Alabama tape. Obviously, Georgia's defense has gotten way better since then. But teams that have success, how were they able to beat Georgia? Attacking them vertically. You have to be able to do that. And they have the players in order to do it for Georgia Tech. They just didn't do it enough in this game. So that was the big one that obviously stood out to me. And then Haynes King hasn't played his best ball here recently. Last game obviously struggled with the 2 turnovers. This one had the interception. I mean, overthrew Dean Patterson. It happens, though. You tried to go for the big play. I'm not mad at it, but you need more from your quarterback, who was at one point a Heisman candidate, Heisman person, essentially. So that was tough to see as well. But my game ball goes to the defense, though, for Georgia Tech. They balled. Like, you can't ask them to play no better. 1 touchdown they let up. They had only allowed them boys 70 yards passing. 70 yards passing. Bruh. I mean, I don't know what else you want there. Now, that's getting it done. Now, remember, they got weapons, right? Georgia has Zachariah Branch, right? They got guys like Noah Thomas, you know what I'm saying? They got Oscar Delp, they got Lawson Lucky. Like, they did a really good job today of shutting them down, right? Besides maybe a couple plays here and there, Georgia Tech did what they were supposed to do. I thought the defensive line got after it. I thought, Braden Manley, second consecutive game with a sack. Jordan Boyd had a sack. Jordan Vandenberg was doing pretty good on the defensive line of scrimmage. The problem is you just need more dogs, right? And when I say dogs, I'm not talking about Georgia. I'm talking about, like, dogs on the defense. EJ Lightsey as well. I want to shout him out. He had a great game. 12 tackles, 6 solo. They did a really good job of tackling and wrapping up in open space. Besides the PFF grade, I thought Cayman Spalding had another good game. And he showed you the athleticism and what he can bring to the table. But you just need more penetration. You need more guys being able to tackle in open space consistently. And not letting people fall on them and move forward. You see that obviously in the run totals, 190 yards rushing for Georgia, 108 for obviously Nate Frazier, 7 yards per carry. That's been the story all year. You go back to this loss against NC State, Jaden Duke Scott, 196 in a tug. Ja'Carrion Turner, 200 yards and a couple touchdowns against Pittsburgh. They got to show that up next season if they want to have a chance to play meaningful football in December. That's just the bottom line. But overall defense, I give them an A-. Again, the running game got abused a little bit, but the passing game was shut down for Georgia. They couldn't get touchdowns, and it was straight field goals for the most part. They had one touchdown all game in the red zone. That was it. When your offense struggled and they kept putting the football, it was 4 for 11 on third down. You did what you needed to do to help your team win. Offense just has to bring in more. So yeah, man, that's my thoughts. That's my reaction. I think at the end of the day, like, Georgia Tech's only gonna get better from it. A lot of people didn't like them playing at Mercedes-Benz. I didn't like it either, because when you have a crowd and the atmosphere like how you had the week prior, going up against Pittsburgh, I think that shows that your fans are really bought in. Your fans believe. That atmosphere was electric a few weeks ago at Mercedes or at Bobby Dodd Stadium. It was electric. But I get it, because you got to bring the money in. A lot of people was like, oh, well, they're doing a cash cow. Of course, they're trying to compete. Georgia Tech wants to be in that conversation. Georgia Tech wants to be in a CFP. That has been one of the staples in the Brent Key era of what they want to do. So say what you want. If you're not generating necessarily the money that you want, or to get a certain player that you want, what you expect? You know what I'm saying? Now remember, Georgia Tech is a brand. They have stuff that they're trying to do as well. They have 4 national championships for a reason. Okay? That little $10 million that you got from Mercedes-Benz, you can go and negotiate a new contract for Coach Brent Key to keep him. Remember, that's been one of the staples that Ryan Alpert, who is obviously their big-time AD, has been talking about. And then you can go get superstar players. And Coach Key talked about in the press conference. Recruit, develop, coach. Those are his 3 pillars. Recruit, develop, coach. It's just that simple. You know what I'm saying? So when they recruit, they're trying to keep these guys in state. And Georgia got some dogs that play here in the state. They're trying to keep them in state, develop them, and have them become outstanding players for them. And that's more than possible at Georgia Tech. Even Georgia, like, they recruit the state, obviously, at a great level, but they don't recruit just Georgia. They recruit North Carolina, California, Texas. Georgia recruits all over. But the key for Georgia Tech to get back in this race is to recruit in-state. Get those dogs, get them to stay here, and then that's going to turn the tide of their program. Similar to what you see with Georgia, who's doing an outstanding job recruiting out of state, but they're also winning battles in-state. That's the big difference for Georgia Tech. And last but not least, shore up that defense. That run defense has to be shored up. If not, you're going to have problems. That has to be the number one thing going into the offseason. You're going to have a new quarterback at the helm, and Aaron Philo, who will likely be your starter next year. You're going to have some new pieces in there, but you should be able to take that next step forward as a program.